What was in the water in Antarctica?
Look, I was one of two survivors from the events that unfurled the day we finally exposed the waters of Lake Vostok. Before I relive this nightmare here for you, right, I'd just like to pose a sort of hypothetical presumption of the sort to level the plane of understanding for what's truly out there. Look, we all know that 40 or 50 million years ago, Antarctica was a thriving ecosystem, right? Riddled with all sorts of not only land creatures, but aquatic species as well. And as the years went on, continental shifts led to the entrapment of colder temperatures, causing the landmass to totally freeze over, right? Now tell me, when the ice age hit our planet, what happened to the species of our world?
I mean, a lot of them went extinct, but
Say it.
some of them adapted.
Exactly.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that...
It means that we would be quite foolish to assume the same couldn't have happened in Antarctica. And on that horrid day, when we unveiled those waters for the first time in 15 million years, it became painfully clear that it did. It was the final day of drilling, right? We were moments from removing the last ice block, holding back these waters, and boy, do I wish we'd hadn't. I regrettably operated the hydraulic arm that removed the final block, as the rest of my crew stood arrogantly surrounding the opening, watching intensely, just excited to be the first modern people to gaze into these prehistoric waters. But I knew something was off personally, because as I'd gotten ready to pull the lever on the arm, we'd started feeling these kind of rumbling sensations beneath the ice, right? Just really abnormal vibrational patterns. We all kind of just looked at each other for a second as I turned to my team leader and just said, "John, what the hell's that?" But, the hard-headed son of a bitch just said, "Oh, it's probably just built up water pressure trying to make its way out. Go ahead and let it." I said to him, like, "John, look, we've got families, man. Let's be smart." He goes, "This ain't a Lovecraft novel, Timmy. Lift the damn cap or move your ass, and I'll do it myself." Under his orders, I reached my hand over that lever, lifting the final barrier between the modern world and a 15 million year old prehistoric melting pot. As the ice cap got just high enough to expose the water, these enormous, utterly grotesque white tentacles frantically sprawled out of the opening, simultaneously latching onto 4 of my crewmates and tightening its unbearable grip around their bodies. We managed to pry one young woman, Jessica, free from its invasive grip, but as for the rest of them, we just gazed into the confused, fearful eyes of our suffocating crewmates as their feet left the ground and their bodies were swiftly sucked into a 6,000-mile wide prehistoric predator-riddled abyss.
Jesus Christ, man. I mean, what the hell did you do?
I mean, look, we immediately took off running, trying to get back to our vehicle, but we had no idea what we'd just unleashed.
I mean, this thing couldn't get on land, right?
Buddy, ice and water are the same chemical composition. It would hardly notice the difference. And as we'd gotten within striking distance of the vehicle, right, the ground rattles like a severe earthquake, knocking John to the ground, right? But I don't stop running. He's the reason we're in this situation in the first place. But as I get near the truck, this monstrosity braces its tentacles around the rim of the opening and fully emerges, letting off a scream full of 15 million years of suppression. I dive into the truck with Jessica, right, as I look in the rear view, waiting for John and one other to make it, while this 40-foot-tall white Kraken just slides across the ice like it was on skates and reaches out a tentacle at a time, sweeping both of them off their feet.
Dear God, man.
I slam the gas, trying to get as far away from this monolith's territory. We drive just miles, in traumatic silence as the only two survivors from our entire crew. I told her to just relax, stay calm, that we're going to go to a naval base a few miles north, and I'm going to get her back home, But I noticed she was kind of clenching her wrist, sort of distressed. So I said to her, Jessica, are you all right? Like, did that thing hurt you? She goes, oh, it just nicked me. I feel a bit nauseous, but I think I'll be all right. I tell her, look, keep it covered. We don't know much about that thing. We'll get you seen as soon as we get the hell off this continent. We finally arrived to the nearest naval base, right? I'm ready to get the hell out of this place. As I approach a head sergeant, he says to me, how was Discovery Day? Panicking, I say to him, listen, we need to evacuate this entire place immediately. Things went terribly south. I don't know how much time we have. Get a pilot for us. We need to leave now. And he just cuts me off and goes, buddy, look, calm down. Just tell me. But before he can even finish, these horrific roars emanate through the base from all directions. With his eyes nearly falling out of his sockets, he says to me, what on God's white ice was that? And I just grab a hold of him and stare into whatever part of his soul that wants to survive and say, a chopper. Can you get us in a chopper? He just subtly nods his head, yes. And we take off, running through the ground-shaking chaos of gunfire, standing no chance against the primal fury of these ancient beasts, as we just run and slide into this chopper, which the sergeant starts up for me as he stands outside of it and says to me, can you fly? I say to him, yes, get the hell in. And he just has this stone-cold expression as he stands with his boots planted firmly on the ground. He goes, my brothers are in here. I say, look, you don't have to do this. Nobody would hold this against you. He looks at me with this deep sense of confliction as he puts his boot on the side of the chopper, which was now hovering. I'm thinking he's about to hop in as he looks at me closely and says, let them know we stood our ground. Pushes all his weight off the side, thrusting the chopper into liftoff. I soar off, just trying to drown out the screams, man, Couldn't help but feel guilty for fleeing. But I told myself, Jessica, I have to get Jessica to a medical facility. She tells me she's feeling worse, right? Her stomach's just in knots. She was sweating in sub-zero temperatures like we were in the Sahara, right? I told her, look, lay down, try and stay calm, sleep it off. And she eventually kind of nods out, and I just fly us for hours straight over the Southern Ocean. As much as I'm wondering how the hell I'm going to explain this to my higher-ups back home, I'm trying to enjoy these passing hours of peace and stillness, right? But I just can't get these flashes of that horrific creature out of my head, and suddenly I think my mind's almost playing tricks on me as my view of the windshield is obstructed by this tentacle creeping in from the passenger side. And as I check on Jessica, I nearly jump out of the chopper as I see all these tentacles protruding out of her. I started screaming her name, but she was completely unresponsive. Realizing I have no options, I reach for the standard-issued Beretta in the left side emergency box without trying to make any movements too noticeable. But before I can even lift the barrel, a tentacle sprawls from her head and nearly breaks my wrist as she lunges out of the chopper into the ocean just 2 or 3 miles off the coast of South America. As I realize I've just endangered the entire global population to the outcome of this ancient parasite, I can't help but feel the increasingly uncomfortable sensation of a gushing open wound that it left on my wrist.
Wait, you were infected?